God, daggone. Go ahead.
So we talked about this very concept where he said, he just moved to Atlanta. Terry, I'm really done with Ghana. There's this, there's that, there's that. There's too much corruption. Nothing gets done. And I realized that, see, the frustrations that we have with Africa are the same frustrations that J.P. Morgan had with America or whoever built America. Because, again, we've not been around for the real, right, the slavery eras. We have grandparents and people that have been around. And it's interesting because as you said that, I thought about the fact that if America's 400 years old, or for 400 years, as they say, we are now realizing that, okay, in 2019, we were enslaved in 1619. And for 7/8 of America's history, we've literally not been able to engage with the economy. So only for the last 1/8, so about 50 years is when we've been able to engage. And with Africa, it's the same story, where for about 60 years, they've been able to engage with the global economy. Right. So if you think about what I shared earlier on radio with Martin Luther King being in Ghana, right, and then he got sick, right? So whatever it was, malaria, whatever he had at the time, he spent time with Nkrumah and they strategized. They had meetings. Then from there he went to Nigeria, right, and they did the same thing. Then he came back to the U.S. a different
person. So it was Lumumba. It was
all of them.
Kwame Nkrumah,
Sankara, that whole group. Right. So what I say about everything about the misunderstanding of Africans toward African Americans and vice versa, it's all on purpose, because if I don't understand you, you don't understand you, then you don't understand that, for example, everyone has a cell phone, right? Everyone is thinking about Tesla. Ghana just discovered lithium in commercial quantities last year. Who's going to come in and help Ghana become a global supplier of batteries, or even help with deals between Ghana and Tesla? Because to your point, the people there unfortunately haven't benefited from education systems where they're 20 years of being a Harvard lawyer, because the people that do have that live outside.
But even being educated at Harvard is indoctrinating you into a Harvard way of thinking. It's not teaching you how to be a better African business person.
It's not at all. But the challenge is that when they come to have these discussions, right, about the resources, the people the West brings have this education. So they bring in partners who have retired and work at the World Bank to come and negotiate contracts, or it's governments that bring in the best of the best to negotiate these contracts. And as you mentioned with the Africans, it's not that mindset. It's mostly for some reason, and I think it's because of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? When you're in a survival state of being, you can't self-actualize. You can't sit there and think and say, well, today is a nice day, the weather's nice. No, you have to think of, how do I eat? How do I sleep? Where do I sleep? How do I get to work? And that's Africa, where as glamorous as we may make it, and I say we because I'm part of the problem too, because there's a lot of real opportunities that are also challenges, right? Because Ghana's only 62 years old. You got people older than the whole country. Right. So when America was 62, imagine what was going on back then. The corruption was crazy.
Right.
Even now it's still bad. So imagine when America was 62 years old. Right. So that's what the continent is. So whenever you get in the plane and go back, I feel like we're time traveling, where we can go and say, okay, in the U.S. it took this, in China this. Okay, what's possible here? And not try to bring our mindset there, but you're basically localizing concepts that are inevitable. 70% of people are under 30 years old. They're going to get married, have children. It's just life. So what services do a 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old person need? That's just what it is. And it's going to be challenging because they don't understand it. They've never seen this before. They've never seen a highway with 5 lanes, right? So they're not going to understand visually what you're talking about. But just like Steve Jobs took out the iPhone and nobody's seen a phone without buttons, he said this is the future and everybody got behind it. It's about how do you understand,
normalize, right,
as
the things
people,
that you're right.
Understand how we make decisions. And when it comes to money, a lot of us, we just have never had. And so this whole conversation just revolves around that, in the sense that we've just never, a lot of us, because some of us have been, but many of us haven't been in a position to understand or even be at a table where we're discussing legacy transfers. Many of us have never sat down where it's your mom, your dad, your grandfather, and you're talking about, okay, these are my assets, this is what I have, this is the will. We don't have these conversations, right? So when death happens, everything's shut down, where our counterparts, when death happens, it's a win. It's, oh my God, now I'm worth extra 30 million, extra 10 million, extra 5 million, extra 500,000.
And there's a part of us, we don't want to have that conversation because we don't necessarily want to leave our hard-earned money to these trifling ass relatives of ours. Because that's how we look at them, right?
And that's the same mindset. So that mindset
Right.
is the same thing in Ghana. You feel me? So even
Too
right
trifling.
now,
I'm not
they
leaving my money
trifling.
to you. I'm gonna freaking spend all my money
Period.
till right.
Period. Because even
my
now,
money, I earned it. Right.
You get calls and it's like, come on, yo. I know you gaming me, man. This is your family though.
Right.
But they game you because you live here, and they
Right.
like, you know, such a sick, and you just see them on Instagram at the party. Like, come on, how you sick, right? But it's that same. So for me, I see again the global similarities, right? And so yes, there are challenges. I know people who've lost millions, and I know people who've made multi-millions, right? Any investment has a risk.
Right.
And the thing is understanding that. So that's what we've been able to do, fortunately, is we use tourism just to get people comfortable.
Yeah, but that narrative, right? So propaganda works many different ways. I try to reverse propagandize. You know, I swing the pendulum all the way over here to empower us in a way to see ourselves as great and because we are, you know. So I speak that every day, and it makes some people mad, you know, who aren't from the global majority. But I'm like, I'm not talking about mind your business, you know. Can we have our moment to celebrate the greatness? I'm not saying you're horrible.
No.
But if you feel horrible, work on yourself. Like, but I think that there's got to be like just how my father came back with that story. It shaped how I felt about Ghana. Yeah, a bunch of corrupt people, and then you know it's like there's confirmation along the way.
That's crazy. I mean, I will tell you, he is correct.
Right, but how do we change that narrative? Like, so I had a student who said, you know, even his mother, who's a Christian, was like, well, you know, you're gonna have to, because he's Nigerian, you know, you're gonna have money and kickback because it's all country of kickbacks, and you know, they don't pay their people, you know, and all of this. And I'm like, how do we change that? Because that's damaging to our legacy and our future.
It is, and it's also just human nature, right? Because the thing is, you can't change that until people make it. So if the average income in Ghana, they just rebased the economy. So the GDP, right, it's now 3,600. We moved up one spot, $3,600 a year, people, not a month, a year. So that's 300. What's that divided by 12? That's $300 a month. Yeah. So why would I not be corrupt?
Right.
If somebody comes into the market with $500,000, I make $300 a month. What do you think is going to happen?
I'm taking that money.
I'm taking it. It's just human nature. It's not about me. It's just the fact that there's not enough people making enough of a decent wage because there's not enough jobs. So people need.
But there's all of these resources, but not enough jobs. That makes no sense.
It's the ecosystem,
Kojo.
right? It's because the education system doesn't teach practicality. So another thing Idris is doing, hopefully, is you have people that are 10 times smarter than you and I, in the sense that when it comes to theory, hands down, all right? Literally, I know people were in Ghana, they were 10th, 12th, last in class. They get to Europe, they're in London, and they're like number one, right? Because they can memorize anything, but they don't have practical experience. So they know exactly how this should look. They've just never drawn it or done it. So that's where you run into these issues where when you come to Ghana or Africa, you're meeting a lot of people that when it comes to the theory behind anything, they know it cold, but they've never done it. So when someone says to you, bring $500,000, there's a farming opportunity in agriculture, they know it. It's true. It's not a lie. The challenge is, have they done it? Do they have the track record? And that's where hopefully you would partner with someone that has done it. Not just Ghana, but the U.S.
How do we not give that dollar over to Tesla, over to Firestone, over to... you know, you name a company, De Beers. How do we keep them from, because the thing with industry is that we have not been experienced, like you said, you know, whether it's been colonized Africa or enslaved Black folk in America, we may have built this country. We may have created, you know, the foundation for the economy, but we have never been in the position to pull the oil out of the ground. You know, we may have been sitting on a block of gold in our village, but we didn't know how to turn that gold into something that was viable.
That's a beautiful thing you mentioned. People are doing it. It's just that, again, we don't connect. So pulling oil out of the ground. There's a brother that went to school in Atlanta. His name is Kevin Autry. So Kevin was on Forbes Africa. He's crazy. He's in his 40s. He's 38 years old at the time this article was written, and his company generates $1 billion in revenue out of Ghana. All right, brother went to Atlanta for Ghana, moved back home, and he started in the oil company, right? And the oil industry. And so now he's in the process to start drilling, right? He needs help. So Robert F. Smith and all these people with money, there's a brother who's doing oil that has a track record. He generated, but again, Robert doesn't know Kevin. Right. Or if they know each other, they've never been in the same setting. So what happens with the global minority, right, is that they connect in different settings where he gets to meet a Kevin, and Kevin can say, "Yo, I'm new to this. I'm really doing it," and Kevin can get help, or he can have someone from the U.S. or Europe or the Netherlands who looks like him, who's done this for 30 years, come and advise and help him. That's what needs to happen, where the ecosystem and pipeline is created such that I know what you do, such that when an opportunity arises,
instead of just going to parties, like we know how to network party wise. Like even what you're talking about right now, the Afrochella. Right, that's music, right? It's music. It's like we know how to do that. We can put on a concert, and we even know how to dance, sing. We know how to be entertained. We know how to do a festival. I wish that we would put equal energy, because I love to watch people be entertained. I love to be entertained. I wish we put equal energy into the pipeline buildings, the oil drillings, the gold mining, the diamond mining with a conscious, not exploiting people, just
not being extractive.
Right? But if we're gonna come together, all the conferences that we have, even the tech conferences, it's all like they say it's networking, but it's more socialization than it is that.
I mean, so there's a brother in Ghana right now, Mr. Bernard Walker. Bernard's from LA. He's lived in Ghana for 4 years. I met him through a brother here, Pascal, in New York, who knew him from when he was in the States, connected us in Ghana, ecosystem, right? So I met him in Ghana. And so Bernard is a circular economy evangelist. That's what he calls himself, right? This brother is exactly the type of mind that we need to put in these types of situations where he can proliferate. Because he talks about circular economy, the way everything feeds itself. So even when you're drilling, it feeds something else, that feeds something else, that feeds something else. And he's an urban planner as well, right?
He lives in Ghana?
He lives in Ghana.
Is he Ghanaian?
No, he's not African American brother. Moved to Ghana. He worked with Maxine Waters back in the day. I mean, he worked with the NAACP out of LA. He's one of those people. He's in his 50s, moved to Ghana. So we work together. The challenge he's having is his mind explodes with opportunities every day. Right now, he's basically doing dried fruit packaging. So he just shipped one of the packages to a buyer here, but he's struggling because everyone's trying to game him instead of helping him, right? So I'm doing what I can to get him capital.
Right.
But the challenge is the people here who have the money don't either know of him or they don't trust him enough to give him a chance.
Right, because we don't trust each other either.
Who literally worked the HP and took HP up.
Come on.
So he's done this, right? And now he's literally saying, so Bernard, if you ever talk to him, will tell you one thing. He spent 5 years understanding how to become a billionaire. So he's identified 10 industries. To your point, it's being specific. He's literally identified 10 industries, 10 businesses that can generate $1 billion collectively.
Do you know what they are?
It's basically, for example, one that I can mention on air. The rest you hit me up for. Shea. Rich Dennis, right, is a billionaire now, right? That's
Shea Moisture.
Shea Moisture off of
Richelieu,
one product.
Shea Moisture.
Off of Shea Moisture.
Off of coca. Off the Shea
Think about that.
nut.
Off of Shea nut. One product, right, that has multiple derivatives that he doesn't even, or has his company doesn't, like you can eat Shea, right? So they don't have a product yet that you can eat, but you can do that. So imagine literally if you extract every single use of that one thing. I mean, you talk about peanut butter.
Like George Washington Carver.
Thank you. 300. So imagine if you take that one thing, Shea, and literally extrapolate all the 300 uses for it. Then you go to cocoa for your skin, and you do all. So it's that type of thinking that
that is germane to who we.
There we go. Natural. So Bernard is in Ghana, and his notebook, if he pulls it up, has this mapped out. He says, Terry, when I talked to him yesterday, he's in these meetings in Ghana because of technology, we can communicate while he's on ground, while I'm here. And these are the things that, to your point on ecosystem building, pipeline, finance, these are tangible examples where it's a reality. It's not me talking. It's not me saying theory. It's literally, if he gets this much capital, this guy and whoever's involved becomes this, because people are already doing it. It's not that people aren't doing it. People are doing just that the people doing it are Lebanese or Indian. And they make, literally, if you go to Ghana at Christmas, you'll see the biggest buildings owned by Lebanese that they built with cash. So you're talking multi-millions that they own.
Which is another form of colonization.
Yeah, you can say colonization. I say it's more so if you leave something to chance, human nature, somebody else is going to do it. Right? So we can say colonization as the terminology.
Right.
But it's just that people are people. And so if we, to your point, don't come and do it, they will. So
So are we going to leave it bush? Right.
Because in Ghana there's a George Bush Highway, right?
There's a George Bush.
There's a George Bush Highway.
I was saying leave it to the not to the bushes, but leave it undeveloped. But you're telling me there's a George Bush Highway in Ghana?
Yeah. So again,
senior?
Yeah. No, junior.
Why?
Because a lot of people in Africa feel like he did more for them. He did a lot for them. Agoga was passed, which allowed Africans to export, into the U.S. certain materials. So those things helped. And so when Obama came in, they didn't really see much for the continent. Just like black people here say Obama didn't really do much for us. So Africans say, oh, well, we like Bush better because his policies affected us. And so a lot of black people here say the same about Obama, right? So we're even similar in that regard, right? But we look at each other as different. But even at that level, you can go to Kenya and someone says the same thing as a dude from Chicago would say, right? How do you connect the two? And so that's
you're doing that. So
we're just trying to have conversations where people understand we're all the same.
Global Mogul Chale. Everything cool. Global Mogul CHALE on Instagram. We got to get traveling. The big festival is in December in Ghana.
December is just more so Christmas. So Christmas is when everyone comes back home. So what you find is, literally, I was in Ghana. It felt like I was in LA, New York, Chicago. Everyone that you see it was there. And this year they're bringing 5 times the number of people. You're partying on a rooftop and Idris is the DJ. So Idris Elba is DJing. Diggy Simmons is there.
Ghana's on the coast. How are the beaches?
Right. Oh, outside of Accra, beautiful.
Accra
is the city. Accra means ant. It means anthill. Yeah.
Anthill?
Yeah.
And I keep saying we need to move like ants.
Yeah. So Accra
Kojo,
is like
we need to move like ants, yeah. Kojo.
So people see women carrying these huge things on their head. It's like ants. And you see men chiseled, glistening in the sun. It's because just like the ant, we work hard. My challenge is let's work smart, right? Let's take that hard working ethic, couple it with those of us who've been able to get the education and learn the systems and put that together, right? And then hopefully, I say Wagana forever. That's me.
I want to be there with you. All right, I'm cutting this off because I really want to talk to you. Yeah. Now the conversation. And here's the reason, because, and I don't know how you feel about this spiritually, but I think when you put something out into the universe, evil forces can snatch it once it's out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. What's inside, can't be corralled. But once you put it out there, and I just said technology, I think, is of the devil. Mm-hmm. So we have to use the devil's thing.
Chess against
yes.
Them. Chess. That's all we have. Yes. I say chess is changing how everyone sees success. We got to play chess.
I've been saying that, but I've just read this book by this poker player, Annie Duke. And she said life is more like poker. It's chance. Right? You could be dealt a good hand and lose. You could be dealt a bad hand and win. It's mastering the uncertainties of life that really, chess is a finite, precise game. If you're a chess master and I'm not, you're going to whip my ass every time. I'm not, there's never going to be a lucky chance for me to beat you. You just would have to make mistakes in order for me to beat you. But if you're playing the game accordingly, poker, you can make a mistake and win. We're playing poker. But we have to be masters of that too. Masters of I'm gonna do a podcast on that, so stay tuned for that. But this is where we are right now, and I'm so grateful that I met you. I'm glad that you're part of my family now.
Definitely.
And
thank God. Kobe's. But listen, that brother said I was in Ghana. He hit me. I was there in July for the Ghana Tech Summit. So Christina and Einstein, they also launched the Ghana Tech Summit. So I'm part of the host committee there. So he's like, "Yo, you gotta meet Karen." I'm like, "Dog, I'm in Ghana. I'd love to." So it's just thankful that I could be back in town. And we connect, but you're right. There's a lot that I can feel it. There's something happening. Like I feel it, and I see it with all the headlines. Just even dating back to from the beginning, as we say, right? With I don't even want to mention his name, but
all right. Well, hold on.